Once we've made contact with the part, that will allow the jaws to close.
We're going to do 9 apartments above 2 retail units, but Metro Bank just offered us a price for the whole building. We just told them the numbers that we wanted as if we was developing it out, and they just said, look, we'll just buy it.
We engineer innovation, and we are engineering innovation.
There's not an Irish problem with that housing is an issue. It's everywhere.
Building over 250 homes, and we have aspirations to build thousands. We're on our way to Liverpool this morning. It was a nice and early start. It's a lovely day, and we're going to meet some business owners and some property developers and investors. We're going to shoot some great content, so stay tuned. And I'm also going to spend about an hour and a half on a podcast called The Property Developers Show, where I'm going to be talking about my entire journey to date and where we're looking to take Castell. We are off to Dublin to meet Ronan O'Reilly. He is a very experienced business owner and property developer. He's building hundreds of homes, and he's going to show us all of his good sites, residential, commercial, across Ireland. So I'm really looking forward to a deep dive with him about systems, how he's scaling, how he's raising capital, and how he's delivering much needed homes right across Ireland. So stay tuned.
How are you?
Good to see you, man.
How's things?
You alright?
Mia, lovely to meet you. How are you? It actually suits because the site's around the corner there, so we'll go and look at that. So we've compound set up there. We're doing up this road. We have a new creche there.
I'm here today with Ronan O'Reilly, who is the founder of Newkey Homes, and we are currently on site in Dublin on this 100,000 square foot development site, which is mixed use. Behind us we have a huge commercial building with a blue chip tenant that's already signed and good to go, and over that part of the site there's development of over 46 apartments. It's 46, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
So Ronan, thanks for showing us around today.
Yeah, great to have you here. We've a large structure on here at the minute. We've about 300 tons of steel going in for over about a 6-week period. Then we'll go inside with the cladding and whatnot. But what we have here is a large supermarket, 40-odd thousand square feet, and then we have 15,000 square foot of a medical centre. Again, it's pre-let, and then we have a couple of retail ancillaries. Tesco box, we have a retailer restaurants here in the front.
Yeah.
And then with the car park at the back, 156 spaces, and then we got this additional apartments for nothing.
And what will you build this in?
Ground floor, we've got kind of a undercroft parking arrangement.
So there's more parking under there.
All of that has to be under there. So if you're a resident, you've got parking underneath.
Okay.
And we are building that an RC on the ground floor and then ICF above that.
When you signed the agreement for lease with Tesco, did your boundary include
Yes.
did it go to there?
Yes, now that's a good question. It did, and that's what I bought.
Yeah.
Right, so with this road to do up, this is the access way. But this is what I seen. I says, lads, the trick here is that's a big waste of money in that access road.
Yeah.
Tighten this up. We can't lose one space because we're in a lease here. But give me apartments here or give me apartments here.
Mm-hmm.
And what we achieved was this. We didn't lose one car parking space.
Yeah.
But we gave ourselves space to build apartments. Then the other strategy, and my consultants thought I was mad in the head for it. I said to them, go in and redo this car parking alignment on its own. Don't go in and ask for permission for the apartments. The reason being, people objecting, they object about resi, they object about these boxes, whatever. Generally, no one gives a fuck about the parking space. They're just seeing it as parking.
Yeah.
But my strategy was, I can wait 2, 3, 4 years.
So get the permission to rejig the parking.
Yeah.
Then go in and get the permission for the
If
apartments.
they block me and me around in the parking,
Yeah.
I at
You've got
least
land.
have got this.
You've got land.
Yes. But I have to have a Tesco obligation here.
Yeah. And
So-
then did they have to, because it was already signed, did they have to then agree to the amendment, like the
They knew
devaluation?
I had this strategy as I was buying it. So
Okay.
I showed them, lads, this is what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
You have to agree this, we're doing the deal. And that's what we agreed. But if I'd gone in and just said, no, let's put in that revision and let's put in this, and anybody in Ireland objects,
Yeah.
the whole opportunity gets
Yeah.
because I have an obligation to deliver this by X date for Tesco's,
Yeah.
and I cannot lose a space here.
Yeah.
So I could have waited now, if this got silly with lads, I could have waited 2 years to get the planning, and we still be quids in, right?
Yeah.
So a site we bought, we ended up getting 50 apartments for more or less the price of that for free. So now we keep this box. We can
because all that now is free.
So we still have the option of selling that.
Yeah.
But given the structure of the finance, we can, without putting in another euro, we can refinance the whole lot of it
Keep it. Yeah.
at about 65% LTV.
How much will it typically rent for?
We've about 1.3 million on that. 1.5 on that. We've about a 12.5, 13 million delivery cost here, and on the apartments it's roughly around the same. Our GDV is around 45 to 50 million on the exit, but we actually are planning to keep the entirety of this scheme.
It's a very healthy site then.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We bought it in a competitive bid off a PLC, and we got a value add position in getting some apartments on the back of the site, which was obviously quite advantageous, and so it's worked out well. So it's down to us now to deliver it. We're fully funded on the scheme with our senior debt and that, and everything's going well, I must say. We have a good team around us here, and we have a good team within Newkey that's managing this job now.
All drainage in, obviously.
Yeah.
Services, and then the...
We've back of house drainage there for the supermarket itself,
Yeah.
and then we also have drainage for all, when you go into a supermarket, you'll see all the frozen aisle section, and you'll see certain else,
Yeah.
they're all chillers.
Yeah.
So obviously there's water coming off those.
Right.
So you have drainage just to pull that all away.
Yeah,
And
so
then
that's really important, because all that design and drawing, that's what I mean by the time you got on site, the amount of work that's got into it already.
Absolutely.
This is designed obviously to
we had countless meetings before we moved in on this site of every single one of those pipes, exactly where they're going, signed off before we got on site. Because once we're going at speed, you can't have this stop and start scenario.
Yeah, and look how high we are.
Simple things like electrical ducts.
Yeah.
You don't want to be coring through floors and dropping them in again, or going over ceilings. So all of that is ducted and ahead of time. And to be fair, if you're working with a good PLC or a large operator in the supermarket space, which we are here, that's a bit run of the mill. You're expecting that efficiency from them and the efficiency from us and knowing how to build these schemes. So
we've got a lift going up there.
Yeah, we've got 3 lifts in this property. One here for the medical centre, one on the far side.
Yeah.
Then we've one internally for coming up to canteens within the supermarket space itself.
Take it back just with you, because it's so interesting what you say. I find it fascinating. But like humble beginnings then. Like, what was the first property deal you did?
I done 2 houses in Grange Ratchin area. I'll show you later on. But my father was in the background of property development. He had a development company. It was of good scale as well. But I left at 21 and went to Dubai. I wanted to get a broad structure of strong foundations for my own career of how to run sites, how to see deals, all the construction management. So I joined a company called Mace. I'd after doing a degree in construction management, then done a business, a postgraduate business thing as well. Yeah. Good, that was good. But my biggest education was being at Mace Group. They're actually UK based.
Yeah, I know.
And they've thousands of staff, a couple of billion turnover. Yeah. I went over, I Googled where was the most amount of cranes in the world, and it was in Jumeirah Beach Residence. Yeah. And that was a scheme of theirs. So I walked into the site office and says, "Can you give me a job?" I was 21.
That's how you got it, did you?
Yeah.
No application, just in there?
No, just went over and says, "Right,
wow,
pull by the horns, get on with it." And I stayed there for 3.5 years, and then did a major job on in the Bahamas for 3.6 billion. They were internally recruited.
Billion?
Massive job, and I got selected to go over to that job, and so within a week I moved from Dubai, and I was in the Bahamas for roughly about 2 years, and that job we were doing $45 million a month dollars. Yeah. About 1.5 million a day.
You must have seen a lot then.
Yeah, that was like huge brain hemorrhage. You're working 65, 70 hours a week.
Yeah,
it's just
in all different aspects. It all coming around.
But it was great exposure.
But obviously still sound very ambitious. What are you trying to do?
Yeah, well
you get that firepower in your back pocket.
Yeah, well really we'd like to make a difference on solving the residential crisis that we have, not only in Ireland but in Europe. I'd like to go to the UK, I'd like to go to Spain, go to Madrid, and try, like there's an issue across Europe. It's not an Irish problem with that housing is an issue. It's everywhere. And like we're starting now with close to 50 million of an equity raise. Now that won't do much on a Europe scope, but Rome wasn't built in a day. So
if you prove that works, you go back to the table, and then it's more like 500 million.
It's surprising, and talking to other people that have done it, other developers in Ireland that I know of and have asked for their opinion, asked for their help, bring them for lunch and whatnot, how quickly it goes from 40 to 100 or 50 to 200 million of. Earlier in my career I was in a position where I almost lost it with inflation on a site. So to me, I'd like, if I was funding a developer or going into something in the future, I'd like to hear that they've had a couple of rough years. Because really, you really educate the scars from those rough years, which educate you, puts the protections in for future.
I so agree with that.
I went into developments that everyone's just singing along, you get a little bit, this is too easy, So I would always say that it's the hard jobs, it's the tough jobs that really give you the experience. And when you drive past, you go, Jesus, remember us getting through that job. But it stands to you now.
Yeah.
But you put in them procedures and standards to just create them risk mitigation in those particular sites. And as you grow, you're mindful of things can go wrong, but we're also mindful that this is a cyclical market that we're in.
Yeah.
It's not like we're selling computer chips.
Yeah.
There's generally always going to be a trend upwards
it's up and down,
to a degree.
boom bust.
We're up and down. So if we take on too much debt at the wrong end of the cycle.
So currently in Donaghcannon, this is another good project of Newkey Homes. Behind us, we've got 40 apartments, and around us that have been developed and nearly finished. We've also got 60, the whole site itself is about 60,000 square foot of development. We've also got supermarkets again and ancillary retail. So amazing site, Ronan. He's going to show us around. Let's have a look.
So that's your concrete, pure concrete, and your insulation either side.
Yeah.
It's like Lego, right?
Yeah.
So it gets built in this first, this gets poured later.
Yeah.
So the weight of that is nothing, it's styrofoam.
Yeah, you can fit
So lads can throw it up, it's easy.
So as it goes up, it's just this, obviously the styrofoam block.
Yeah.
And then there's rebar inside.
Yes.
And then obviously they shutter it and then pour.
Correct.
And then do they pour it how high do they go before they pour it? Is it
a
half?
certain level. I think it's like what traditionally would have been 6 or 7 rows of block at a time.
We once did a retaining wall.
Otherwise
and
it can bulge out.
It blew it.
All those contractors are certified.
So you bring in specialists.
Yeah, they're trained how to build that product or produce that product, and they're giving you the guarantees and warranties on that. So that's what you'd expect.
Do you have any issues getting do you have a 10 or 12 year structural warranty on this?
I think it's 12 years.
12 years, yeah. And any issue using ICF for
it's not for everything, but for these kind of build, if you were going 10 stories, it just simply doesn't work. You can't certify it.
Yeah.
But for what we're doing, is typically low-rise apartments up to 5-6 stories. It's perfect.
What was the build methodology to build this?
So RC on the ground floor, because we've retail on the ground floor and we've no columns or not many columns at all.
Yeah.
You're trying to keep it open for the restaurant and open for the retail space that we have.
Okay.
So you've no really columns there, so it's all on in situ reinforced concrete.
And then it's just like a slab then,
a big transfer slab, I think it's about 600 mil thick.
Okay.
And then we were building ICF above that. So in situ concrete formwork.
Yeah.
We can go a floor a week with it. We've 8 and 6 apartments here, so we're doing about a floor a week in the ICF.
On the ICF, what's the floor that goes on? Is it concrete floor? Is it that sits on top of it then, or is it?
Yeah, precast.
Precast. So you have the ICF, and then you bring in precast.
Correct.
Floor, and then the stairs will be concrete.
Some steel, obviously, members in the middle of that just to keep that the structure. But then precast on top, and then go again with your starter bars and up with the ICF.
Yeah.
And the ICF will get an EPC rating in the UK, or what's called a BEO rating here of like one-off passes, so like A2.
Yeah, it's just like an AEPC for UK.
Yeah, they're easily heated and they're highly insulated.
What type of ground was this? What did you have to? What was the?
We done piles here.
It was piled. Yeah,
piled, and then we had precast ground beams. So
piles,
it's quite expensive
beams,
on the ground floor just to get it up. Then we're a lot of heavy concrete, obviously in the RC, and getting up to a transfer slab. Then it's a bit quicker, and then obviously once we've the structure up and we're airtight and whatnot, we then are coming in with our trades. So our typical trades come in to start first fix and second fixing, and we're doing airtightness tests here. I'm sure you do similar across the way.
Yeah, we do that,
but yeah, it's systematic, or you're trying to get it as most systematic. It's in a rotation. Yeah. And the only time
plot by plot running through.
Yeah, is managing manpower. If a certain subcontractor has dozen of guys available, or has some other job is bled into it, you're trying to keep the wheels spinning. Their spec might be that this is a standalone fridge freezer, but we have this integrated product.
Okay.
We don't want to walk away from it that it looks a bit shabby or a bit soft. So
you chose to increase the spec.
Yeah. We'd rather walk away with that than something that's a bit 1980s. And yeah, with the latest heating systems and ventilation, etc., just to get up to the A2 rating.
What is the heating system here?
So it's an exhaust air heat pump. Right. And that obviously works off pulling in heat from your kitchens or from your showers and reusing it to heat water.
So it's an efficient.
It's very efficient.
Yeah. Okay, great. Nice. Well, it is nice and spacious. I'm here today in Runcorn, and I am with Simon. Simon is the founder of Carney UK, and we're at his manufacturing facility where we get to show you behind the scenes of how he scaled this engineering business, and we get to show you all of the good bits. So Simon, tell us, what is Carney UK?
So Carney UK is an engineering manufacturer which produces production equipment for other manufacturers like car factories. We've predominantly been in car factories, but we're looking to expand and go into other manufacturing facilities in the UK.
Awesome. All right, well, here's your premises.
Yeah.
Can you show us around and where the magic happens? Your slogan on your thing is engineering innovation.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know the right term for it, but we engineer innovation and we are engineering innovation. So yeah, innovative engineering.
Is that because when clients bring you in, they bring you in with a problem, but they don't necessarily have the solution for it?
That's exactly
You're
right,
the one that has to come up with the solution.
So we'll have to come up with a cost-effective way of delivering a solution to their problem. For example, in a car factory, there's a new product that they need to build. They haven't got any, and they've just got a blank space on the floor. They'll ask us to come up with a design for that area, and they'll ask us to meet their criteria where we only use so many operators. It's got to be done in a certain time frame. So we'd make things like this. This is what an operator would use to locate a part. So you would have maybe a table that moved around on a base, and then he would have to he'd have to locate the table in a certain position for a different product part or product variant, and he would use something like this. So what we've done with this is we've made a leading edge and we've rounded it off quite nice. Then we've made these little ribs, let's say, and that for the handle grip, but then we've nailed the parts as well.
So you've done that on this machine?
From a round bar
From
of
a
steel.
round bar, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the complexity that machine's capable of. To do that and achieve it in those old-fashioned machines, that would probably be a day's work in making a pin like that.
And how long would that machine?
Minutes.
Minutes?
Wow.
Yeah. Your USP though is in that complex problem solving, really helping those customers get more efficiency out of the lines they have. Because it's kind of like those grey areas that come up, isn't it? Like they have the lines in place. Tell me if I'm wrong here.
No, that's
like
exactly right, yeah.
They'll have a part, say, you showed me earlier the base plate for where your feet go.
Right, yeah.
They were manually handling that. They then bring you in to resolve that and bring a machine in place or a system in place to remove the manual handling bit of it. Is that right?
The manual handling will be because there might be like 2 people needed to lift that part, one on each end. So to pay a second person on every shift cost them a lot of money. So what they decide to do is they say, okay, can we buy a machine so that one operator can use the machine, can pick up the part with the machine, and then be able to put it into wherever it's got to sequence it or whatever it's got to do. So now we've removed an operator out of the equation, so that is not a continual expense for these car manufacturers. They pay one capital equipment expense, and then that's it. Then it just
they
needs
get the benefits back. Yeah, they reduce their ongoing costs. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
They were installing a component part inefficiently. And they're exposing the workers in their own company to risk of personal injury for their employees and also damaging the part, which would impact quality. So you worked with them, you came up with this design to say, right, we could take that part with its component measurements, etc. This would pick it up with one person, and now they're using a machine to pick it up, so they're no longer having to manually handle it. It can take it to wherever it needs, change the orientation of it, and stack it down. You created this design, send it to them, work with them for approving, and then you basically brought in all the raw materials and manufactured that here. Is that right?
That's right, yeah, exactly right. Every part of it was made here, actually. So you'll see that what we spoke about earlier, these are fabricated parts, these are laser cut parts, these are precision engineered parts, and these as well. These are the parts that make contact with the customer's part. Then we'll go to pneumatics suppliers. We prefer, there's a German company called Festo, we have a good relationship with them. They make these little parts here. These are limit switch type things. We call them part present switches. Once we've made contact with the part, that will allow the jaws to close. Once the part's in the jaws, we can't let the part drop out and fall on the floor. The operator could make a mistake. So we have a two-handed control for this as well. A lot of safety has to be factored in. That's part of the machinery directive. They would press enable and they would clamp it. This is the drawing pack for the machine that you've just looked at the beginning of it. We'll have what it's called and we'll have the quantity of it as well.
Who does the drawing?
We do it.
Oh, this is...
Yeah, this is all done in-house. But this is actually the pack for all the different tradesmen that will be working on that. So it's several things, to be honest. This is like order lists as well. So somebody has to generate all these order lists. So this one in particular is what the fabricator has to do.
Yeah.
We'll tell the fabricator if what his fabrication needs to be, what his fabrication's called. There's a drawing number with that reference.
Yeah.
How many he's got to make, whether there's laser cut parts, if his steel's being cut, if he's got any precision parts to go with it. We'll have something then where we'll tell the precision engineer, he doesn't know how many to make, so we'll have to tell him exactly how many of each part he needs to make it according to the drawing.
And they'll have this printed off and then tick it off as they go.
Yeah. It's all part of our quality. ISO 9001 as well. We have traceability of things. We don't have to do that. The customers don't quite ask us to do that, but we do that to be a little bit better organised. I'll colour things yellow. That quick reference for me, where I'll be able to say then who to give what to. So the fabricator would have a yellowy colour, and then we'll have like laser cut stuff that'll have a little pink colour.
Yeah.
So these are the different lists that I send to the different companies that are involved. In our company here, we'll have the planning column, and that means that we've got a purchase order. So now I've bought these magnetic strips. I'll write out the job number. I'll put it on the planning.
Oh, I see.
So I've got an order.
Yeah.
I'm kind of still working on that. Like I haven't come up with a concept, or even though you'll quote multiple jobs, you won't get all of them. You'll get a percentage of them. So you can't give every job that you quote the thought and attention. Because you don't. So you'd only really go back to it when you've got the job.
So this is from secured orders now.
Yeah, purchase orders come in.
Yeah. So before that, you have a lead system that manages that, which is maybe Excel or something, or CRM system, or
no, not really. There's not as many leads as you'd think.
But to be fair, as you say, what you deal with is so bespoke and specialist. You don't need tons of leads, do you? Because normally one lead, if you can solve their problem, is probably a high conversion. Would you say?
I would say so. Yeah. More than 50%.
Exactly. Yeah, because like they're just looking for the solution, and there's not really many they can go to, is there?
Not really.
So, but right, lead comes in, PO, planning.
Yeah. Goes into planning. Once we've come up with a concept and gathered all the information from the customer, it then moves over into its design.
Yeah.
That means that it's now being managed by somebody else.
Yeah.
All oversaw by me, but it's being managed by a design engineer. Okay. Once it comes out of design and it goes into processing, that's where those packs, what you've seen there, they'll be getting worked on, and we'll be sending out for inquiries to different subcontractors. Then we'll take once all that's been okay, we've ordered everything, everything's been manufactured on the shop floor, it stays in there for a week or two. Then we'll do a little dummy assembly. So we call it assembly in black, or people call it a dry build. That's where we'll try it all out. Sometimes things don't fit. You might have tolerances where you've made two parts that are meant to mate together, and they might be a little bit tight. With steel, you can't just make it work. You've got to then take it back and machine it and make it work.
Yeah, it's not like plastic where you can just...
No. And then we'll then split it all down again. We'll send it off to be painted or zinc plated, as I mentioned earlier, chemi blacked, and then we'll bring it back together and we'll do the final assembly where we'll have the pneumatics go into it. We'll have it ready for the customer. The customer will come out then for an FAT, a factory acceptance test. Several people will come from the customer's organisation, and that will be the engineer who you're working for. You might have the safety representative, the users, and various other stakeholders within their company will want to come out and see what is it that we're going to get, and then it will go for delivery or installation. Often we don't have to install, we just hand it over, and that's that.
So we're currently in Stockport, about to meet a good friend of mine, Aidan Patterson. He is a property investor, and he scaled a company that's done various things: buy, refurbishment, finance, flips, commercial conversions. He raised a lot of money from investors. He's packaged deals and sold them on to investors. So we're going to meet him now at this Italian restaurant, Aidan's stomping ground, and we're going to be talking about a fun topic for dinner: property development. So I am with the one and only Aidan Patterson from, is it called Stacey Patterson Group still?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. So I've known Aidan for several years now. We went skiing together, didn't we?
Yeah, I think 2018, 2019, something like that.
So before COVID anyway. And back then, Aidan, we got on really well, and he's a very driven entrepreneur and property owner. And now we're in his home turf, we're in Stockport.
Yeah, Cheadle.
We're just catching up now, talking about property investments, developments, and we thought it'd be great just to chuck this on record and continue the conversation. So Since I last seen you then, how is business your end?
Ups and downs like always really, so we've done quite a lot of like HMOs, some commercial conversions, and most recently we've been concentrating on flips. Unfortunately I had one deal, one property we were selling for in January, so that's like our most recent bit of trouble, but on the all in all it's been quite good really.
How many deals on a year do you do on average, would you say?
So recently, not too many. When we first met, we was probably doing 6 or 7 deals, but the volume was higher, but the profits were a lot less. So we had to do more to sort of make more. At the moment, we've only done 4 deals in the last 2 years, but one of them deals profited us more than probably all the deals we've done in the past 5 or 6 years.
What type of deal was that?
We was going to do 9 apartments above 2 retail units. But Metro Bank just offered us a price for the whole building after we got the planning, which just made sense not to actually develop it out.
What, just to buy it off you?
They just bought it all, yeah.
Okay.
So
they wanted to move into the area?
They wanted that building in particular, and we just told them the numbers that we wanted as if we was developing it out, and they just said, look, we'll just buy it. If you don't want to develop it, we'll just give you that price anyway. So
wow, really?
Basically all the work got taken away from us, but we still got the same profit.
That's amazing.
So that was...
So since then you've been sunning it up then, have you? Yeah.
Well, I wish. Since then we've been trying to find deals similar, which we can't find.
He's been dining in Italian restaurants.
No, but yeah, so that was probably one of the best deals that we'll ever do.
Yeah.
If I can find any more like that, I'd be grateful. But since then, nothing that great.
So you got paid the price of building a 9-unit scheme without actually having to
without developing the scheme, yeah. So we put all the infrastructure in for the flats, which was quite annoying. All the gas, electric, water, supplies, and none of it ever got used.
Wow.
So we could have made more money, but we thought we was going to develop it out until they came along.
So that's one of the highs since you last, but what's been one of the biggest challenges?
One of the biggest challenges, I would say just at the moment, this property that fell through in January, because although if it went through in January everything would have been great, but now, to be honest, we are late on the loan to a private investor. They know and we know the situation, so we've been open and honest about it, but the cost of money is on a bit of a default rate, and it's quite a lot of money because, since we last spoke, the deals that we're doing are now a lot more expensive, so the cost of money goes up. I'd say that, and aside from that, just in general, actually closing deals, like it's very difficult at the moment to be, especially in this area, local to where we are, closing deals, especially if they're on market at a good enough rate to make a good profit. And I would say actually another big problem, or something that has not been how we wanted it to be, is we bought a plot of land, our first development, when we made that money, and it's been 19 months in planning. They've asked for like 6 extensions of time.
Welcome to planning.
So
this typical proper developer that is he takes the money made from a once in a lifetime deal and puts it straight into a development and sits for full planning for nearly 2 years.
Yeah, so that's where I would say maybe if we negotiated it a bit differently, it might have helped us out. Yeah, because we just put the money into it,
and just sat there.
And now it's the opportunity cost of what we could have done with that money.
Well, like pay off one investor, etc.
Or use it for another scheme.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of the biggest challenges, just having to wait, not knowing when that's going to come in, and knowing that we need to build it out when it does come in, to trying to program cash flow, funds available from investors.
So 2 questions. First question, and not a lot of people talk about this, but the risk of actually borrowing investors' funds. Sometimes it can go on longer than you expected. It's happened to me, it's happened to yourself, it will happen to others that are looking to do it for the first time. How do you deal with that? What's your approach to dealing with that? And the second question is, in the face of adversity, what keeps you going?
Well, I'd say one main thing for us, and probably for any investors, is communication. So the investors that we work with now are more on the sort of, that's their career side of things, rather than people who are using just spare money that they might have needed next year for a holiday or something like that, the high net worth individuals. So I would say working with the right type of investors who understand that sometimes things don't go exactly to plan, and not over leveraging too much, like the loan to value is quite low on this in particular deal, but just communication.
Not burying your head.
A lot of the time, we've held back in not wanting to share the problems because you don't want to look bad to the investor or whatever it might be, but it just plays on your mind. And what we've realised is when you just be open and honest and tell people a solid plan and concentrate on what you can control rather than what you can't control, it just takes that big weight off your shoulders, and most of the time we've all been okay with it. they're getting more interest anyway at the end of the day. And if you're open with them, they can plan their cash flow accordingly as well.
Yeah. And then what keeps you going then in the face of adversity? Dealing with those problems. You wake up, you've got to deal with them. What keeps you going?
One thing is just like, I've got goals somewhere where I want to be. I've faced challenges when we first started, which we've always managed to get through. And on the other side of them challenges, there is always reward if it's delayed a little bit compared to where you thought it would be. If you keep going through, you persevere and you stay consistent and you take action, then the rewards will come at some point or another. So I think when we first met, I just started out, and the lifestyle from there to now is dramatically better than what it was before doing property. So
I've just been with Scott Williams, who hosts the Property Developer Show, and I've been on his podcast today talking about how I scaled Castell Group, my beginnings, how I got into business, and sharing really deep lessons on how to overcome challenges, how to scale a business, how to raise money, and what the future looks like for myself and Castell. There's lots of golden nuggets in there. Hopefully you find the show enjoyable. Comes out in the next few weeks, so stay tuned.